So at the end of the last section, we finished doing some styling on our application, and I also realized that I was running this at a higher magnification, so yours probably looks a lot better than mine right now. I'm going to zoom back out to 100%, and yeah, that looks a lot better. So this is probably closer to what you're seeing right now. Okay, so our app is looking pretty good, but we still don't have the ability to search for new videos. So in this section, we're going to hook up that search bar at the top. To do that, we're going to follow a similar pattern as we did with the video list, where we're going to pass a callback, but this time down into the search bar. The search bar is basically going to take the callback that we passed to search bar is going to take a string, a search term, and make a new YT search. And when the search is complete, it will set the state of the new list of videos. Okay, so let's get started here. The first thing we're going to do is define our callback. And we're going to do that by making a new method on our app. We'll call it video search. And it's going to have one argument, which will be a term. This term right here is going to be the search term. So really, a string, whatever the user types into the input. Okay, next, we're going to move this initial search right here down into the video search. There's no sense in having duplicate code, and this search right here is basically exactly what we need to get started. So we're going to change the default search term from surfboards to term, and then inside the constructor, we still want to do that initial search. So we'll say this.video search surfboards. All right, so now when the component first is rendered to the DOM, it runs the constructor, and we're still doing our video search, which is going to kick off the search like so. But now we've got this searching mechanism inside of this method right here, which means we can pass it down into search bar. So we'll say, we'll make this property name on search term change, and we're going to pass it a function where the term we'll call video search with the term. So basically, when search bar calls on search term change, it will do so with a search term, a string, and that will be sent right into this.video search, and that's where the term will pop up. It'll do the YouTube search, and everyone's happy. Okay, so let's save this, and let's flip on over to search bar. So our current handler for the input change is tucked away on state right here, or on the on change, right? It's its own little function. So I don't really want to do that anymore. If we start to put some calling a callback in here, it's going to start to look kind of ugly. It might get a little bit nasty. So let's split this event handler out to a separate method. So we'll add a new method down here, and we'll call it on input change, and we'll call it with a term. So we'll say instead of setting the state down here, we'll kill all of that, and instead we'll say this on input change with event.target.value. So now whenever the input is changed, on change, we'll call on input change with the new value from the input itself. So inside of here, we really want to do two things. We still want to set the state with the term, and we also want to call the callback that we got from index, from app, with this new search term as well. So let's do the set state first. We'll say this.setState, and we'll use the abbreviated syntax again. So term, and then we'll say this.props, and let's double check that handler name. So we want to call, basically we want to call on search term change with the new search term. So we'll say this.props.on search term change with the new term. Cool. All right, I'm going to save this, and let's flip over to the browser, refresh, and let's see what happens when we start to type. So let's say, I don't know, what's a good thing to search for? Let's search for Cliff Bars, because I'm eating one right now. Sweet, it works. You'll notice that whenever we type in here, we kick off an entirely new search. So if I say Cliff Bars are good, and every type or every keystroke that we enter does a new search. And then let's say I can come over here and say cliff bars are good, earn the cliff bar, I agree with this. And then we can watch the video. Okay, that YouTube is just ridiculous. Just surfboards. Let's just go back to surfboards. Okay, much better. Looks safer. Okay, here we go. Cute baby bear rides surfboard. Very safe. We're happy here. This is good. Okay, so this is looking great. We can search for new videos, pops up on the right. Everything's looking good. Just one little problem. When we start to type text in here, the app really slows down. I'm going to delete this right here. And as I type out surfboards, it just feels kind of laggy. There's a good bit of lag in there. It'd be really great if we somehow throttled the frequency with which we search. So instead of every single time we press a button, we do fire off a new search, maybe we should only fire off a new search once every, like, say, half a second. I think that'd be a lot nicer. So let's do that in the next section. But before we get there, let's do one more run through of exactly what's happening here with the search term. So I'm back inside of app right here. The first thing we did was we refactored the YouTube search into its own method. And the method just takes a single string, a search term. We took this method, video search, and we passed it down into search bar under the property on search term change. So all search bar has to do is call on search term props.onSearchChange, on search term change, just real tongue twister there, with a new search term, and that will call our searching function, which will go ahead and fetch a new list of videos. Then inside of search bar, we refactor the onChange event here. So whenever the content of the input changed, it now calls onInputChange with the new input value. OnInputChange in turn has two functions, or two additional lines of code inside of it, two purposes. First, it sets the state of this component. Secondly, it fires off the callback function on search term change. One thing to note here is that it's probably a little bit superfluous for us to have like this callback function and this callback function. We probably don't need both of them. Probably could have just condensed it down into one function, but I like being able to just pass in a single term and kind of be done with it. It's a lot cleaner than saying, event.target.value in here twice or what have you. So could do it either way, but this one looks pretty nice right here. Okay, so let's get back to it inside the next section and start throttling the search term input.